Let me tell you a story you'll never forget. Because it began with bricks, sweat, and a dream, and ended with a curse that no one, not even Karen, could stop. It all started when I decided to build a pyramid in my backyard. Yeah, you heard that right. A real pyramid. Not a shed, not a gazebo, a full-on sandstone monument to the gods of mystery and power. Why? Because some people build pools, some people plant flowers, but I build legacies. And nothing screams legacy like an ancient, glorious, mathematically perfect triangle that touches the sky. So there I was, in a quiet neighborhood, just trying to create something that made history whisper again. I imported sandstone blocks, not fake stuff, real, chipped, golden slabs that sang in the sun. I hired a few friends who owed me favors, and every morning we moved rocks like ancient builders, dripping sweat, shouting out plans, aligning each block with magnetic north. Then she showed up. Her name was Karen, and she was the president of the HOA. Homeowners Association. 3 words that sound harmless, until they appear at your doorstep like an ancient curse wrapped in a power suit. She wore beige like it was armor, held a clipboard like it was a sword, and stared at my half-built pyramid like she was staring into sin itself. "Excuse me," she said, in a voice coated with judgment and expired Chardonnay. "You can't do that." "Do what?" I asked, sweat glistening on my brow, arms covered in dust, hands still gripping a trowel. "That," she pointed, her finger trembling with the fury of 1,000 filed complaints. "You can't build a pyramid in a residential zone. It's against HOA regulations." I blinked. "Where exactly does it say no pyramids?" She flipped through her clipboard, eyes twitching. "It doesn't have to say it directly. It's implied. You need permits. You need approvals. You need aesthetic align, meant with community values." And that's when I knew I was at war. Not with the city, not with engineering, not with gravity, but with Karen. She slapped me with a fine the next day. $2,000. I laughed. Then she brought a city inspector. I built higher. Then she came back with a cease and desist letter. So I carved hieroglyphics into the outer walls. If she was going to treat me like I was cursed, I was going to act like it. "You think this is funny?" she shouted one afternoon, marching up my driveway in her pristine tennis shoes, while I etched the Eye of Horus above the entrance. "No," I said, not looking up. "I think it's destiny." That night, everything changed. The wind howled louder than usual. A sandstorm, a literal sandstorm, blew in from nowhere. The bricks rattled. My cat hissed. And I swear to Ra himself, the pyramid glowed. People say I'm lying. They say I was hallucinating from too much sun. But I know what I saw. The hieroglyphics shimmered. The air turned thick, and from the deepest part of the pyramid, something ancient stirred. A door I hadn't built cracked open inside the base. A dark staircase spiraled downward, farther than the earth should allow. And from that deep, impossible abyss came a whisper. Not in English, not in Arabic, not in any modern language, but I understood it. It said, "You have awakened what sleeps beneath. Do not flee, do not doubt, for judgment comes not from man, but from eternity." I stepped back, heart pounding like ancient drums. And that's when the lights in the neighborhood began to flicker. The wind stopped, the world held its breath, and the next morning, Karen's roses were dead. All of them, blackened, wilted, gone. She blamed me. Of course she did. But how could I explain the truth? How could I tell her that while she was trying to shut down my dream with red tape and HOA handbooks, I had awakened something old, something powerful, something buried beneath the sand for a reason? She didn't care. She doubled the fine, threatened legal action, and I just smiled. Because by then, the pyramid was complete, and the curse had already begun. You can't reason with a storm. And by now, Karen wasn't facing a man. She was facing something ancient, something carved in prophecy. The next week, strange things started happening in the neighborhood. It started small. Mailboxes twisted into impossible shapes overnight. Birds flew backward over Karen's house. Her precious poodle, Muffin, barked at empty corners and refused to go near the pyramid, shivering like it had seen death itself. But Karen, she wasn't backing down. She called an emergency HOA meeting, passed out flyers warning about rogue structures, and even hired a spiritual medium named Crystal, who walked around my pyramid burning sage and muttering in tongues. Crystal didn't last long. She stepped into the threshold, just one step, and her eyes rolled back in her head. She let out a long, rattling moan and whispered, "He walks again." Then she collapsed. Karen blamed the heat. But now, people in the neighborhood started asking questions. Why did the grass around my pyramid grow greener than anywhere else, even without watering? Why did the temperature drop by 10 degrees when you stood near the stones? And why did Karen's house creak every night at exactly 3:33 a.m.? She marched up to my property again, armed with a new clipboard, a city notice, and a ridiculous amount of peppermint gum. "You're scaring the community," she said, jaw tense. "The curse hasn't even started yet," I replied, calmly placing another Sphinx statue on the front lawn. She looked like she wanted to slap me. Instead, she issued a final warning and stormed off, but not before muttering something under her breath about demons and property value. That night, the neighborhood lost power. Every home but mine was swallowed in pitch black. Security cameras failed. Streetlights shattered. But the pyramid? It glowed softly from within, golden light pulsing like a beating heart. Then came the dreams. Neighbors started reporting nightmares. Visions of sand swallowing their homes, jackals with red eyes, whispers in forgotten tongues. Even children started drawing strange symbols in chalk, symbols I'd seen inside the hidden tomb beneath the pyramid. Karen held a press conference on her lawn. Yes, a literal press conference. A folding table, a podium, a banner that read, "Protect our homes from pagan structures." She told the local news it was a violation of suburban harmony. But while she talked, her house behind her began to bleed sand. Grains poured from her vents, her mailbox, her attic. Cascading from the gutters like the Sahara was moving in. She screamed. The cameras caught it all. Viral in under 24 hours. Hashtags exploded. Pyramid Man, /Va, Karen Vaz, The Curse. Desert Justice. Reporters camped out near my driveway. Some believed I was a performance artist. Others thought I was the reincarnation of an ancient high priest. I said nothing. Because I had descended the staircase beneath the pyramid. And what I saw changed everything. The tomb wasn't empty. At the center of a chamber, surrounded by gold, there was a sarcophagus, sealed with black tar and chains made of bone. And carved into the stone around it were words in perfect English. "Let no one disturb the sleep of Menhotep. For if the laws of kings are broken, the curse of kings shall awaken." Karen had broken every law of spirit and soul, trying to silence what was divine, trying to find what was sacred. And now, Menhotep was stirring. I returned to the surface to find her on my lawn again, this time with a demolition crew. A wrecking ball, a bulldozer, a group of very nervous workers in hard hats. "You brought this on yourself," she yelled as the machines roared to life. "You should have just followed the rules." But as the wrecking ball swung toward the pyramid, just inches from contact, time slowed. "Let no one disturb the sleep of Menhotep. For if the laws of kings are broken, the curse of kings shall awaken." Karen had broken every law of spirit and soul, trying to silence what was divine, trying to find what was sacred. And now, Menhotep was stirring. I returned to the surface to find her on my lawn again, this time with a demolition crew, a wrecking ball, a bulldozer, a group of very nervous workers in hard hats. "You brought this on yourself," she yelled as the machines roared to life. "You should have just followed the rules." But as the wrecking ball swung toward the pyramid, just inches from contact, time slowed.